My name is Venkat Rangan. Um, at IIT, I used to be called D. Venkat Rangan. And during the transition to my US career, I split my name with first name Venkat and last name Rangan. That's what I go by now. IIT, I joined in 1976, graduated in 1981. Um, I was in the mechanical engineering department, and my final year project was in the heat transfer lab under Dr. Vijay Raghavan. Just looking back at my IIT phase of my life, um, or prior to even IIT, I would categorize my childhood in two phases. The first phase revolved around frequent moves of my family due to my father's association with central government CSIR group of research parks. We were in Nagpur, in Maharashtra for 6 years, Mysore for another 3 years, and in between 1 year in Chennai, Madras as well. During this phase, learned Kannada, Hindi, adjusted to local school curriculums. And the most significant academic achievement was getting 5th rank in state middle school examination, 7th standard exam, which was a big surprise for my family. The second phase of my childhood kicked in right after my father passed away in an accident in 1972. I was actually ready to give my 8th standard exam in late March, and that was a big shock. It was a traumatic experience for my mother and our family. Actually, my mother transitioned to become a single parent, raising myself and 3 other children. We had to move to Madras, and our family had a very difficult time to make ends meet. Somehow it kind of triggered a level of responsibility. Being the oldest child, I studied very hard. The remaining 4 years of high school, did my IIT JEE just purely using Agarwal training books. We didn't have money to go to a brilliant tutorials or any other coaching program. Again, a big surprise was my rank on IIT JEE. I got All India 101, which meant I could choose whatever branch I wanted. I chose the top choice at that time, mechanical engineering at IIT Madras. And really, spent a lot of time on doing well academically, but at the same time, I also discovered a passion for sports. I discovered that I could be a long distance running, middle distance and long distance running by accident. And I chose to participate through the annual road races. It was a serendipitous discovery. I ran my first road race in my second year at IIT, along with my wing mate, James Matthews, who was 1 year senior to me. And lo and behold, I finished in the top 10 that year. And after that, James would encourage me to try out for the Institute Inter-IIT team. And I did well on that as well. So that was my launch pad for my intramural games. I also did skating, roller skating, hockey, several team sports. So I would say my favorite sport at IIT was the stadium, the IIT stadium. and I spent a lot of time there. I also, given some of the team participation, I learned a lot through the teamwork that I was part of. Teamwork, commitment to the hard work needed to win in those competitions. So Godavari Hostel, we all rallied around winning the Schroeter, and the I think 3 out of the 4 years that we were there, we won the Schroeter at in the intramural games, and that was a highlight of my participation. And traveled to IIT Kharagpur and IIT Kanpur for various competitions as well. The second favorite spot at IIT Madras was the computer center, where given the hot days, the air conditioning of the IBM 370 there was one of the attractions. And I picked up computer science because one of my um, wingmates again was an MTech computer science curriculum person. And so, we really learned a lot from that. So that was the second passion of mine. Um, After IIT Madras, I switched to computer science proper and got a master's in computer science from University of Miami in Coral Gables, Florida. Computer science curriculum was very nascent at that stage. None of the IITs was offering computer science as a BTech program, BTech option. Um, so really it was a change in focus from mechanical engineering to computer science. Again, I was fortunate in listening to several of my mentors who said software was going to eat the world, and being in computer science was really the right move from a future career standpoint. During my University of Miami master's program, I actually ran a PDP lab, a digital computer PDP lab for the computer science program. That was my teaching assistantship. And in that process, I had to work with local startups that also had similar equipment to learn from them on how to run a lab and how to run the computers. This was very early days of multi-user computing and Unix operating system. And I got to learn how to install Unix on mini computers and have a lab of 30 to 40 simultaneous class participants do their homework on that lab. And I had to keep the machine running the whole time. And that was a big responsibility because earlier people that were running the lab, they moved on to do other things. And suddenly I found myself being the only person with all the expertise needed to run the lab. So that taught me a lot on, how to keep systems running, during lab hours. Really learned a lot about operating systems, disk, mini computers. Disks would crash a lot, so I had to make alternate plans and keep the whole system running through backups, and had to really also interact with computer manufacturers. So it's very rare for a young person at that stage to actually call digital equipment and get patches and load them up on computers and really keep things going. So that taught me a lot on how to, work with high-end systems. Really came in handy as I moved to my first job as well. So my first entry was again a startup that was helping us with the lab. I joined this company called Proximity Technology. There, the company was building software and hardware. The hardware was high-end string matching hardware for emerging PCs. And this add-on board was really the foundation for this company. But what we found was translating that hardware into software and running that on plain old PCs was actually more effective and more profitable. So we built, a new kind of software that could be integrated with word processors. And what we did was we innovated on the software and organizing the data for searching lexicons and thesaurus for word processing. So our key discovery that enabled us was, many software firms were building word processor software, and that needed a component for spell checking. And so we innovated a replaceable component that helped all the word processing manufacturers like Multimate, WordPerfect, and even Microsoft Word to integrate spelling software from us. And when they do that, they added a new capability that they could not build themselves. So this is where I learned about, how to produce software and OEM that to other manufacturers so they could enhance their software. And being at the center of innovation on that allowed us to focus on a very key component that would help other manufacturers to accelerate their development and their value. And in that process, I got sought after by Wang Labs, who was a mini computer maker, and they saw that they had to build this internally themselves. So I was able to find a position there, and I like to, I felt that transitioning from Florida to Boston, where there was a lot of mini computer activity. My dream was to join a mini computer company like Digital Equipment or Wang Labs to help in their products. And so when Wang made an offer, I really felt like I could join there. And that was really key for me to launch my software architecting skills. I managed to work at Wang Labs with key software architects and rise up from a senior software engineer to principal software engineer to key architect at Wang. But Wang as a company didn't do well. They invested on technologies that didn't do all that well. And so they went on a downward spiral. And at that point, some of the key people from Wang, we left Wang and started a company called Metrics Network Systems. And we focused on enabling a new kind of network. Ethernet was not very popular then. Ethernet was really very early stages of Ethernet. And we developed a way of diagnosing Ethernet problems through software. And Metrics Network Systems really pioneered software-based diagnosis of network systems, and we disrupted hardware-based diagnosis from companies like Network General, and we launched our product at 1/10 the cost of a Network General. And because we were able to do this at software, that really allowed us to scale the company faster and really, take on Network General because our product was much more flexible. We could be deployed on any software system. And because of that, we became a very popular option for IT professionals who wanted to diagnose network systems. And that also meant that our product could be deployed in other hardware. So Jim Getz, who was at company called Synoptics, and he saw the potential of taking our product and embedding that. And so that started a process of, my association with Jim Getz and Synoptics. And the reason that is important is as we were developing our product, the OEM really meant that we became a really important component that um, Synoptics was incorporating into their hardware. And that also meant that we became an acquisition target, built a product into, $60 million exit. In those days, 1993 was really a big acquisition. HP made a big offer for us and acquired us. And after the acquisition, I stayed on with HP for 2 years, integrated the product. But at 1995, I got an opportunity to work at Microsoft. And Microsoft, I worked on Exchange, a messaging system, leveraging my skills on networking and building the software for network systems meant that I could actually transition into various IT initiatives around building the next Internet Explorer, building the Microsoft foray into Internet technologies. I was hired into the Exchange team under Jim Olchin and also worked with Bob Muglia at Microsoft and Brian Valentine, who actually was the key architect of Microsoft Exchange backend systems. All of those really became my mentors in terms of how to build software that is scalable, how to build software in a robust way. I still recall two meetings with with Jim Olchin presenting to Bill Gates. That was my highlight of my career at Microsoft. But while I was there, Jim Getz, who previously was at Synoptics, after the acquisition with Bay Networks, he left Bay Networks with a new idea for monitoring internet performance. And he remembered me from the OEM of my product with Synoptics. And he thought, bringing me over from Microsoft and building the company around me as the first engineer really would be a big partnership. And he pulled me over from Microsoft, which was a big decision point for me. Do I stay at Microsoft, build my career with Jim Olchen, Brian Valentine, Bob Muglia, and Bill Gates, launching the career there versus leaving Microsoft, going to a top product manager who's starting a new company. And that decision was nerve-wracking. I took a big gamble in leaving Microsoft and joining Jim Getz. But in retrospect, I think that was the best move I could have made because that was really my launch pad for several startups. I did Vital Sign Software with Jim Getz. That was a successful exit to INS and then later to Lucent Technologies. After that, Jim and I went in different directions. Jim became a partner at Axel Partners, but he still had a strong relationship with me. And after my association with Lucent, when he was looking to, start a new company with another partner, Guru Pangal, with Rhapsody Networks, he pulled me over from Lucent Technologies, and Jim played the role of a kingmaker. So he made the connection with Guru Pangal. So Guru Pangal and I had Rhapsody Networks as the next startup, where I worked with Silicon ASIC chips, storage software, storage virtualization software. A big difference in big transition, I would say, from Vital Signs, Lucent Technologies to building ASICs with LSI logic and building a hardware system for storage acceleration. And this is where, I learned a lot as well, quickly learning how to build, uh, modules for storage switch. That's that product actually did well. We were acquired by Brocade Communications, and after that acquisition, I went back to entrepreneur in residence at Sequoia Capital, and that was the where I um, built the ideas for the next startup, which was Clearwell. Clearwell was a 7-year journey building software for a new area called e-discovery. And Clearwell, over a 7-year period, really transformed the e-discovery industry by automating many processes around electronic discovery, preparing for legal review. And we built the product along with my co-founder and partner, RF Hilali. Jim again funded the company and worked with me and RF in building the company into a successful exit. We exited to Symantec with an acquisition that was valued at 410 million. And after the acquisition, I spent a year integrating the company with Symantec. And Symantec integration also exposed me to Symantec CEO, Enrique Salem. And that network helped me in bringing Enrique into Clary, my next startup, where he became a board member. So after the integration with Symantec, um, I was looking to do the next thing. And again, I, along with another of my exec partners from Clearwell, Andy Byrne, started Clary. That was in 2012. And again, Jim funded the company through Sequoia Capital, along with RF Hilali. And so again, the network I built over the course of several years helped me secure funding for Clary and start Clary in a solid foundation. Getting Series A funding with 6 million funding from Sequoia Capital as a lead investor for Clary was a huge achievement. Along with that, we were also able to bring about 20 to 30 former employees of Clearwell into Clary, and that helped me build the company and very quickly build the company and the product. Over a course of the next 3-4 years, we established ourselves as a leading provider of software for sales teams. Now Clary is 350 employees. Our latest round of funding was at a value of 1.6 billion, and we are a unicorn now, and we are on a path to continue building the product, building the company over the next couple of years. We expect the company to build to a successful IPO and beyond, and we have visions of continuing to invest in the growth of the company to generate significant value even beyond the IPO. Our plans call for a 10x value build after the IPO as well, all based on the premise that revenue is an important process for our customers, and by transforming the way in which revenue is generated uh, by streamlining revenue operations to be more efficient, connected, and predictable, we are expecting to build, we are looking to build significant value for our customers. And, if you look at the global economy, if you combine all of the GDPs of industrialized nations, the top 10 industrialized countries, 100 trillion in global economy, GDP wise, and if we are able to improve that by 10%, that is $10 trillion of additional value created. And we are in a position to do that. And $10 trillion is actually almost the GDP of China today. Maybe it is twice that of India's GDP. So that's the level of impact we can make by transforming revenue operations. And it's really well within our reach by putting in place a rigor around the revenue process and building all the machinery around data collection, data organization, building machine learning and AI capabilities on all the data that supports revenue operations. We have the potential to transform revenue operations for every company on the planet. And that is a massive, massive opportunity that every individual in my company believes in. And that is our launch pad for IPO and beyond. I really believe, streamlining revenue, streamlining go-to-market, ensuring that all aspects of a business are connected is very important. In terms of buyer journey, customer journey, I really see private blockchains, permissioned blockchains, where people can collaborate on a common platform where, coming to a common agreement on sequence of events leading to commitment on purchase of technology, purchase of uh, buying. The buying journey process has so many checkpoints, and that checkpoint can be enhanced in a way that facilitates a common agreement through contracting process, through negotiations, all driven by what I would call permissioned blockchain, which is taking a foothold in other areas as well. If you look at supply chain, food supply chain, drug delivery, drug manufacturing supply chain, even high-end luxury goods supply chain, all benefiting from traceable blockchains in a permission network is really an area where I think there is a tremendous potential. And I know many, many startups are trying to leverage this. In fact, I sat on a panel in IIT East Summit where there were several proposals on blockchain technologies for supply chain and various areas. And this is also benefiting from the public blockchain because innovations that are happening on the public blockchain for proof of work, proof of stake, currency manipulation, currency ledgers is actually helping similar technologies on permissioned blockchain to take off as well.